Hello guys and gals, me Mudahar, and this is a rant time, and it's a very special one. It's one that I get asked, it's actually been a topic that I was asked several times before, and I've always refrained from speaking about it because it's so, how should I put it, dynamic. Well, if you don't know, I mean, obviously you read the title here, resolutions and frame rates. I've been asked this question a bunch of times. Now, I had a background in computer, sciences. I've worked places. I've actually coded applications in-house a lot, and video game development was never something I was in. But I do know how. I do know the terminology and what actually is, or what it's about. Now, I work in film and television. I work as an editor. I know what resolutions and frame rates are by the back of my fucking hand. And for video gaming, a lot of people tell me this, that, this, and that. And let me give you the brutally honest facts about the situation. All right. First of all, a lot of this stems from the fact that next generation systems are running things at 900p, 720p, and they're not exactly hitting 1080p. Well, allow me to put it from a graphical perspective. These systems cost $400. $500 if you got an Xbox One launch day, $400. Now, for $400, it's a closed platform. It's obviously not going to have top-range graphic cards. If you're sitting there expecting the graphic card in the PS4 and Xbox One to be the top graphic card, well, top GPU chipset in the fucking world right now, you're sorely mistaken, because it's middleware. I think it's like a 60, I think it's in the early 7000 ATI series, which they're not bad, but they're not, brand spanking new by any means necessary. And again, it is a closed platform. It's not running, a giant operating system, even though that's very negligible nowadays too. It's got, plethora of RAM. The CPUs are, in my opinion, utter jokes at this point. They're like tablet CPUs in a way. They're the APUs, if you will. But they're not incredibly powerful systems, but they're not incredibly weak, as a lot of people put them out to be. But a lot of people have an issue with the resolutions and frame rates. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, this might piss some people off, but for a next generation standard, I at least expect resolution to be 1080p. I at least expect that, or if not, at least 60 frames per second. A lot of people tell you can't see the difference. Well, here's the thing. 720p and 1080p, there's a big difference. The pixel density is staggeringly different between both of them. 1080p is going to be much more detailed, much more defined. And you can find this. I mean, you play a PC game, you set it to you put it on a 50-inch TV, and there has to be a certain size for the TV where you have to get the full 1080p experience. If you put it on like a 32-inch TV, what'll happen often is that there's like overscanning that goes on, and the pixel, the ratio for it isn't like correlating with 1080p. Yeah, it can do 1080p, but it won't give you the full experience of full high definition. So, for example, I have a 50-inch television, all right? I have a Samsung television. It's not my main television. It's the one I game on in my office. The 50-inch, all right, I think it's LCD, whatever it is. It's not LED, but it's 50-inch, and I plug in a 1080p monitor into it. Not monitor into it, but I plug in my HDMI from my gaming computer, the SOG box, into it. Now, you set a game to 1080p, you can tell how clear it is, but you set it down to 720p, and you start to see that, some things begin to look fuzzy, especially text. If you ever play a console game versus a PC game in maximum resolution, one of the biggest giveaways is text. And if you played Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes on the PlayStation 3 versus, MGS Ground Zeroes on the PS4, you'll notice that difference. I guarantee you'll notice the difference. For example, in the gameplay footage, I'll try to just put in 720p, 1080p footage right there too. You can tell that there is a difference in resolution. There is a clear-cut difference in the resolution being presented to you. Even so, more than the resolution, there's like a lot of graphical effects being put on the next-gen systems too that sort of account for the resolution too. You got like these specular effects going on, you got these particle effects, you got a bunch of things that go on. Frame rate is one thing that people say they can't notice a difference. Now, for the most part, if you've been gaming on the consoles primarily, you've been locked at 30 frames per second, or lower as the generation goes on, because the hardware also becomes ancient. So you've been gaming at 30 FPS solid. 60 frames per second is something that PC gamers have been doing for the longest time ever. In fact, if you're a competitive gamer, like some of my friends, they're gaming at 120 frames per second, and they can tell the difference because they have the monitors that go up that high, I think like 144 hertz. but they can tell frame rate differences. If you cannot tell a frame rate difference, then that is actually a blatant lie. I'll leave a link to a site below that'll show you the difference between 30 and 60 in a GIF format. It'll show you exactly what the difference is, and it is a very, very smooth difference. If you game at 30 frames per second and you try to, like, say you're playing a shooter and you scroll to the right, you'll notice that there's some stutter going on, or it's not as smooth. You play it at 60 frames per second, like locked. You know, I'm not talking about 30 to 60 because that's really bad. If it goes like that, either just keep it at 30 or make sure you lower settings down to reach 60, because that judder is horrible. When you're gaming at 60, you'll notice that smooth transition here and there. That exists. The difference between 720p to 1080p isn't... It depends on the person. I myself can notice that difference clearly because I work a lot with film, television, and I do a lot of gaming on both systems. My brother, on the other hand, isn't really a PC gamer. He's more of a console kind of guy. So when I put 720p and 1080p on the same screen, he really doesn't notice the difference because, again, he's just playing the game. You know, case in point, he was playing, what was it? Shadow of Mordor, the new title that came out. Really good game, by the way. He was playing it on the Sogbox, right? And while he left to go get a drink, I set the game down to 720p. Throughout the whole experience playing the game, he did not notice a single difference. Nothing else was changed, just the resolution. Nothing was noticed on his end. He didn't question it, didn't go into settings and check, nothing. He just played the game. I, on the other hand, could notice it, but that might be because I just changed the settings so I would know it more obviously than someone who didn't see it change. But there it goes for you people. Like, don't just listen to fanboy kind of hype there. Don't listen to rational thinking here, okay? If you're worried about resolutions and frame rates, and it's something you should be worried about because, like I said, I bought the PS4 and Xbox One as well. These are systems that are going to run for 10 years. And a sad part is that if they can't run games at 1080p, which in my opinion should be a resolution standard. You know, when we went from PS2 to PS3, 720p became our standard. Now I think 1080p should be the standard. Is it a realistic standard? Not really. I mean, as games get more prettier, they can't push that frame buffer out. It's impossible. But should 60 FPS be a standard? I really think so. 60 frames per second kind of makes, you know, video games more responsive, first of all, and it just makes any game I play better. A lot of people will tell you 30 frames per second is cinematic, and to an extent it is, but you play any sort of game now. I'm playing Last of Us and I'm playing Metal Gear Solid. I don't want to put 30 frames per second on. It has no benefit over the 60 option. In fact, I like the way the 60 feels smooth. A lot of people complain it's like soap operas. Not necessarily. And some people tell you 24 frames per second is what games should be at, and those people, don't listen to those people. 24 frames per second is like the cutoff point between what you can see as a PowerPoint presentation and what is smooth. That's for film. But yeah, I hope this long-winded explanation on what a resolution is and what a frame rate is helps clear some things up. You really have nothing to worry. Just be fucking gamers, okay? Don't go to this Gamergate shit or any of this other bullcrap. Just fucking put the game into the goddamn system, take your pain pills, and fucking play the goddamn game. That's all you need to do. That's all you need to do, okay? That's all you need to do. Just fucking play the game, alright? Okay? And this is all I really got to say about resolutions and frame rates. Yeah, I guess they're important, but if you just want to play a game, if I wanted to play Sleeping Dogs, playing the game in 720p, 60, isn't really breaking the bank for me, or 720, 30. As long as the game is good, it doesn't matter what resolution. Well, the frame rate should at least be 30. I will agree on that. At least, you know, at least be constant. But it doesn't matter if the game looks like crap or it looks good. I'm playing it. But from a next-gen standpoint, if games nowadays aren't really hitting that mark now, I mean, it would be acceptable if we were in the 6th year and they were starting to downgrade. But if they're not hitting the mark now, it kind of goes to show you what's going to happen. I mean, hey, anything can happen in 2016, 2017, 2018. But for now, just sit back, relax, and enjoy some good games coming out. We've had good games. Shadow of Mordor, Alien Isolation, and Evil Within in a couple days. That being said, this is me, Mudahar, and if you like what you saw, like, comment, and subscribe, and please let me know in the comment box below. I really, really love reading your comments, especially in the rant time sections, because you get to see a lot of different opinions being vocalized here and there. But yeah, this is me, Mudahar, and I am out.